Hey guys, I hope you're doing good. Being fully honest, this wasn't supposed to be the video I posted today. I had a whole review of me Samu's play in the works, but this situation has gotten a lot more attention than I thought it would. Given that I have covered and criticized the group's music and lack of direction in the past, I felt it was also important for me to speak up when I felt something was wrong. So today, I want to talk about Katseye again. Not just about the current situation surrounding Manon's hiatus, but about the larger trajectory of the group and why, honestly, things are taking a turn for the worse. When Katseye was first announced, I was genuinely intrigued. This was a global pop girl group formed through a survival program, Popstar Academy, and created by Hybe in partnership with Geffen Records. From the start, it felt to me that this group was something of an experiment, a test to see whether the K-pop training system and rollout could be successfully transplanted into the Western market. And to be fair, this was a genius idea. I mean, the timing made sense. It had been a long time since we had a truly dominant, culturally unified girl group in the West. So, the market gap was there. Add to that, K-pop has boomed in popularity in the recent years in a way that no one could have predicted. So, the interest was also there. They just needed to hone their talents and be able to serve. But now, we're starting to see where the cracks are forming. One of the biggest issues facing Katseye right now is their lack of a strong musical identity. That's something I've already covered in a few of my videos, so I won't harp on it too much. But their discography feels inconsistent, jumping between trends without ever fully committing to a concept or a clear artistic direction. Songs like Game Boy and Touch are cute and catchy, but beyond that, much of their music feels forgettable rather than defining. Or it's just straight up rage bait slop. And that's dangerous for a group this early into their career. Girl groups, especially in the Western market, need a recognizable core identity to survive. Without it, momentum stalls, and when it does, companies start making decisions that aren't necessarily artist-friendly. Which brings us to the current situation. Last week, Hybe and Geffen announced that Manon would be taking a temporary hiatus from group activities. The official statement shared said that she would be stepping back to, quote, focus on her health and well-being, emphasizing that the group supports her and that Katseye would continue activities in her absence. However, no timeline was provided, just vague reassurance. At face value, this sounds pretty standard. We've seen health-related hiatuses countless times before, including from Katseye members. But then, Manon spoke for herself. Shortly after the announcement, she shared her own message with fans, stating that she was healthy and that she was taking care of herself. She thanked fans for their concern, but then added a line that stuck with a lot of people. Sometimes things unfold in ways we don't fully control. That single sentence changed everything, because suddenly, the company's story and Manon's didn't fully align. And when that happens, we can't move on. Understandably, we have questions. I mean, hello, the math was not mathing. For many fans, this hiatus didn't feel random. Over time, there had been missed appearances and inconsistent visibility, moments where Manon seemed noticeably absent from promotion she could have participated in. For example, the Glossier pic. I've seen the comments and I hate to say it, but Yooncha's chin was really working overtime. So when an artist repeatedly steps back for health reasons, especially at the very beginning of their career, it raises broader concerns and questions. Questions about scheduling and pressure, but perhaps most importantly, questions about whether the support systems in place are actually sustainable or even exist. I feel that's partially why this announcement landed so heavily. It didn't feel like a single pause, it felt like the acknowledgement of a pattern. Quickly, and I mean very quickly, speculation began to circulate. Some fans believe Manon may have been punished for pursuing activities outside of the group, these including a short film project and a rumored guest judging appearance on Germany's Next Top Model. None of this has been officially confirmed, so for legal purposes, this is all alleged. I don't really feel like getting sued by Hybe because I know I won't be as lucky as Minhee Jin. But here's the thing, networking and side projects are normal, especially in Western pop. Do they have a history of causing occasional fan wars and discourse? Yes, but that's not the problem. The issue is that companies often don't want individual members to become, quote, bigger than the program. Case in point, One Young and Friends. If a member misses schedules or challenges control, that costs money. And when profit is the priority, patience runs oh so thin. Unsurprisingly, the fandom reaction has been intense and deeply divided. Many fans are firmly in the health comes first camp, encouraging rest and asking others not to speculate. but others feel uneasy. Not because Manon is stepping back, but because this situation doesn't exist in a vacuum and we have to acknowledge that. Manon is the only black member of Katseye, and for many fans, especially black fans, it's impossible not to contextualize her experience within a long-standing industry pattern. They're under harsher scrutiny, and like Manon has stated in the past, they feel more pressure to prove their worth. In her case, the lazy allegations have made her feel like she has to constantly chase the approval of everyone. So Manon liking posts that discuss that bias didn't start this conversation, it just validated that people weren't imagining things. The saddest part is that we've seen this before. Normani in Fifth Harmony, Leanne in Little Mix, hell, even Naturi in 3LW. What y'all know about Prometheus and that hot plate of KFC? Not the point. In multiracial girl groups, black women are often the ones targeted and sidelined or even quietly pushed out, while narratives of laziness or not fitting in are allowed to circulate. They're even painted as difficult to work with, so the other members showing up and sticking together seem like a much bigger deal. Even when there is privilege involved, marginalization still exists. I feel it's also very important to note that the reaction didn't stop with fans. SZA publicly showed support, Chloe Bailey expressed sadness, and for the purposes of this video, most importantly, Normani and Leanne followed Manon shortly after the news broke. That matters, because it shows that people inside the industry are paying attention and they recognize the pattern too. Fans have also pointed to moments that feel increasingly hard to ignore. Like I already mentioned, Manon being absent from a group photo of their Glossier billboard campaign despite showing up by herself the very next day. Same as being excluded from the Gabriella performance shoot while injured, even though other members were still included during similar situations. There was also an alleged, quote, internal document referencing a quiet exit strategy and a transition to 5 members. If real, that reframes everything, but honestly to me that one feels a bit far-fetched. To make things worse, a man got involved and made it worse. Shocker! Daniela's father publicly commented things on their fans and creators' posts like, "The show must go on," "5 is okay too," "Come back when you're ready to work," and many others. Whether intentional or not, it fed directly into a narrative Manon has consistently tried to escape. And the irony? Manon had no background in singing or dancing before this group. She worked hard just to keep up, and it shows. So calling her lazy isn't just unfair, it's inaccurate. But this has been a narrative that has followed her from the survival show all these years. So the question becomes, can Katseye survive this? Historically, when a member leaves or is pushed out, the group doesn't last much longer. We've seen this pattern repeatedly, especially here in Western pop. However, in K-pop, at least in recent years, and even within HYBE themselves, groups have survived post-member changes and withdrawals, so there is a possibility that they will survive. But now it's time for me to add my opinion to all of this. Truthfully, I don't see Katseye succeeding much if Manon left. Even though other HYBE groups have been able to avoid this downfall in the past, with Katseye specifically, I fear they would have to disband. Again, even with the examples of other black girl group members of the past having shared their experiences with being othered, nothing really happened until much later in current times. However, because Katseye is active in the present day, social media's role in this can't be denied. Just think, if this were the 90s, hell, even the 2000s or 2010s, people wouldn't really care. I mean, we have the evidence that the majority didn't care. Manon would have just been pushed aside and quietly shelved. But with the power of her popularity in social media, everyone is talking about it. Not only does this popularity fuel my previous claims that she could do well solo, it also shows HYBE and Geffen that the general public sees what they're doing and they stand with Manon, which could be a huge financial loss for them. If the group is boycotted, not only would this affect the company's pocket, but it would also affect the other members. Their popularity and reputation would drop, suddenly their albums aren't selling, they can't get solo or group brand deals, it's overall just bad. Part of what makes this really sad for me is the fact that Katseye still feels like a test group. If it ends, several members will be fine on their own. Manon, Daniela, and Lara especially have clear solo potential based on popularity alone. Plus, I wouldn't be surprised if they have future plans for Yoonchae in Asia. Maybe she could pull a Jessica Jung or do like the Chinese members of WJSN and promote to great success in China. However, if they continue on, they risk what happened to Fourth Harmony. Yes, Lara is very, very popular, and not to mention incredibly talented, as well as Daniela. but I don't know if their popularity, in combination with the other members, is enough to outweigh the backlash I feel Manon's exit would cause. Like, being fully frank, if Manon really did leave, Hybe and Geffen would be shooting their group dead in the water before it got the chance to fully soar. That last part is what's keeping me from fully putting on my tinfoil hat. Hybe wouldn't risk such a promising group at the expense of one girl. Well, it's not impossible. I mean, look at Garam. Plus, unfortunately, Hybe doesn't really have the best track record when it comes to Katseye themselves. Like, have y'all seen that activity book screenshot that asked what Manon's best attribute was, and one of the options was her laziness? They're setting my girl up for real for real. At the end of it all, this is about a real person, not just a brand. Manon deserves safety and support both from us fans, but most importantly, from her company. But it's also valid to acknowledge that this situation reflects a larger conversation about health and representation in the pop industry. But I also wanted to make this clear, supporting Manon doesn't mean attacking the group, but also asking questions doesn't mean you're anti-Katseye. If anything, it shows how much people really care. But we'll see how this PR crisis is handled, cause if her hiatus or hypothetical removal were indeed planned, it has backfired. Hard. Plus, right now, trust is fragile and fans are watching closely to see what happens. In an ideal world, this is all just a misunderstanding. But if it turns out to be much deeper than that, well, we've got a problem. That's all from me. I'm gonna try to get that Misamo video out soon, and like I've been saying, I'm gonna try to keep uploading a bit more consistently, but it's been a little tough. I might do a poll on my community tab asking what you guys want me to cover next, because I have a few ideas and I really need the guidance. Anyways, thank you guys so very much for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click that bell icon so you're notified every time I post a video. Tell me in the comments down below, how do you feel about everything going on, and do you think this is the end of Katseye? Remember that I love you all so much, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye!